Hi, pre-algebra students. So we're going to look at section 5.2 notes on solving a system of linear equations by substitution. So far, we've learned how to use a graph to solve a system. So today we're going to look at the first method we can use to solve a system of equations algebraically. So take some time to read through the key idea because, as you know, that's always important in terms of giving us a process to follow. So you're going to read through these steps. And then, of course, I'll just talk you through them as we work through the first example. So notice we have an equation in two variables for our system. So this is why we can't solve it like a linear equation where we just use inverse operations. So we have to come up with another method. So using substitution allows us to use one equation to help us find the value of the variable in the other. So as you can see in the first equation here, y is already isolated, so we're going to take the value of y in the first equation and we're going to substitute it in place of y right here in the second equation and solve for x. So the first step is to copy that second equation. First step is to copy the equation and substitute 2x minus 4 in place of y. So you're just copying that equation right here, but notice I substituted 2x minus 4 in place of y. Okay, now you see that I only have one variable in this equation, so I'm just going to solve it like I normally would. I'm using distributive property first. Be really careful when you're distributing. There's a subtraction sign in front of 2, so that means 2 is negative. So 7x comes down. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And then here, a negative times a negative gives me a positive 8. So I have some other junk here I'm going to erase. There we go, clean that up. And then just bring down your equals 5. Next step is to combine like terms. 7x take away 4x is 3x. And then now I'm down to a pretty simple two-step equation. So using inverse operations, I just subtract 8 from both sides. Again, careful with your integer rules. So now it says, sorry about that, not negative 3x. That's just a positive 3x equals negative 3. So if you divide both sides by a positive 3, x is equal to negative 1. Okay, now here's the important part. Don't stop. We're not finished. We found the value of x. Now we need to use the value of x to help us find the value of y. So I'm going to take the value of x that I found, and you can substitute it in either of the two equations to help you find y. As you notice, there's always going to be one that's looks a little bit simpler. So because the first one already has y isolated, I'm going to use the y equals 2x minus 4. I'm going to substitute again negative 1 in place of x right here and just use order of operations to find y. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. So y is equal to negative 6. Now, once you find your value of y, again, there are a couple things to remember here. First of all, you don't stop there. Remember, your solution for a system always needs to be written as an ordered pair. So in the form of x comma y, my solution is negative 1, negative 6. Now remember, you can always check your work. So if I want to check this, I can substitute negative 1 in place of x, negative 6 in place of y. So since I already used the first equation to find my value of y, I'm going to check it using the second equation. So this 7x minus 2y equals 5. So we're going to put negative 1 in place of x, negative 6 in place of y. That gives me 5. If I did it correctly, so 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. Here, a negative 2 times a negative 6 would be positive 12. So because 5 equals 5, I know I did my work correctly. Okay, I want you to pause it right here. Okay, so now we're going to look at a real life application problem. The first thing you always want to do with a problem like this is read through it really carefully and then try to identify your important information. So I can see in the first sentence that I have a total of 50 turkey burgers and veggie burgers. So that's important. And then it also says I have $90 is the total cost for 2 turkey burgers. Sorry, I said that wrong. It's $90 and you pay $2 per turkey burger and $1.50 per veggie burger. So notice I'm going to keep all of the information for my total number of burgers together, and then I'm going to keep all of the cost information together. Okay, then the problem tells me to write and solve a system of linear equations using x as the number of turkey burgers and y as the number of veggie burgers. So that means I have to write in 2 equations in 2 variables. So I'm going to write my variable statement, x equals the number of turkey burgers and y equals the number of veggie burgers. Now, using the 2 pieces of information we found, that's what's going to help me set up my 2 equations. So the first sentence says I have a total of 50 turkey and veggie burgers. So my first equation would be x plus y equals 50. So that means I have some turkey and some veggie for a total of 50. My second equation says I pay $90. So 90 is my total. Remember, your total always goes at the end of the equation. And it says I pay $2 per turkey burger. So 2x per means multiply. And then $1.50. So 1.5 is fine. So 1.5 times y. So my 2 equations are there. Now, in order to solve this using substitution, I have to rewrite one of the equations with one of the variables isolated. So because the first equation looks a little bit simpler, I'm going to go ahead and solve that one. Sorry about that. I'm going to solve that one. So I'm going to subtract y from both sides so that I can isolate my x. So my new equation is going to say x equals 50 minus y. Okay, so using an inverse operation, I just isolated x. Now I'm going to take this value of x and substitute it in place of x in the second equation so that I can solve for y. So it looks like this. 2 times 50 minus y, and then just copy the rest of the equation. Plus 1.5y equals 90. Now, just like we did in the problems on the previous page, we're going to solve this by distributing and combining like terms. So 2 times 50 is 100. 2 times y is 2y. Everything else drops down. Okay, combine your like terms again. So you have 100 minus 0.5y equals 90. And then subtract 100 from both sides. So this time you have negative 0.5y. There should be a point there. 0.5y equals negative 10. Okay, I'm going to try to scoot my paper up a little bit so I have a little more room to work, because my last step is to divide by negative 0.5 on both sides. So it says y equals, and over here a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Let your calculator help you with the 10 divided by 0.5, which in this case is 20, I believe. Yes. Okay, so we did the hard part. We found out y equals 20. Now remember, we still need to find x. So I'm going to take my value of y and substitute it back in that simple equation that we started with, the x plus y equals 50. So you now know that y is 20. So we're going to put that in place of y. So what plus 20 equals 50? So that means x is equal to 30. Now, when you solve a word problem, we're not going to write our answers in ordered pair like we normally do. We're going to write our answer as a sentence with labels. So if x is 30 and y is 20, that means you bought 30 turkey burgers and 50, oops, let me make sure I spelled this right, 30 turkey burgers and 50, not 50, sorry, it's not 50, y is 20. So 20 veggie burgers for a total of 50. Okay, so always clearly state your answer with a word problem, making sure you include labels, not as an ordered pair. So you bought 30 turkey burgers and 20 veggie burgers. That's your answer. Okay, please try these on your own. I know these kind are difficult, but give it a try. We'll go over this one and we'll definitely spend more time solving word problems over the next several days. Have a great night.